My fellow bassists, welcome back. So judging by the comments on my last video, a lot of you want a more in-depth tutorial on You Can't Hold No Groove, and since I absolutely love playing this song, I'm more than happy to teach it to you. Before I get into this too much, I just want to give a quick disclaimer that this is a pretty tough bass line, so I did also create a slightly more beginner version which cuts out a lot of the really intricate slaps and pops but still sounds a lot like the original. If you want the tabs and practice video for that, you can get it on the Basscamp Patreon. Okay, but let's just dive right into the song now. So the first thing you're going to do is strum a chord pretty high up on the neck. It's going to be fret 17 on the A string, fret 14 on D, and fret 15 on G, and you're just going to do 16th notes like this. And then right after that, you're going to tap fret 24 on the G string like this. So if you don't have 24 frets on your bass, feel free to just do a little slap there or just something to fill up the space. Try playing that first phrase with me a few times. So strumming is really important in this song. I spent a really long time trying to play this song with no strumming, just slaps and pops, and it just never really felt that good. It never really grooved. And then I watched a live video of Victor performing it and realized that he's basically strumming like half the time. It's the only way that you can really get enough power for the accents on 2 and 4 that make this song feel so great. The next phrase starts by slapping an open D, hammering onto fret 3, and then popping an open G, hammering back onto fret 3, then 2 strums on an open G, and then hammer onto fret 3 on D again. So the whole thing together sounds like this. It's very important to master this little lick because it comes up over and over again in this song, so try just playing that little bit along with me a few times. So right after you play that, then you have this tap slide. So it's a tritone, and it's fret 14 on D and fret 15 on G, and then you just slide up a half step. And then you tap the G with your left hand, so it sounds like this. Right after that tap slide, we have another powerful double strum, and then you tap G again like this. Then you add this little phrase. So you might be starting to notice that there's a lot of left-hand taps and strumming involved in this song. One of the ways that Victor manages to play so fast with what looks like so little effort is that he actually articulates a lot more notes with his left hand than you realize. So here's what we've got so far. See if you can play along with me. Okay, so after those first few bars, we get this little phrase. The best way that I've found to play this phrase is to take my left index finger and rest it over all the strings around fret 3 so that it mutes them. You start with the strums and then tap onto G. Then you do a left hand slap and then a slap and pop. So, and then you tap onto G again. And then you just add that lick that we learned earlier, so the whole thing sounds like this. You You might not believe me, but you've actually learned about 90% of the main theme now. As complicated as this song sounds, the main part of it is essentially just the same 2 bars repeated over and over with some variations. Now, some of those variations are pretty tricky, but it's nice to know that there's at least a lot of repetition involved. With that in mind, here's the first 8 bars of the main theme. So we're going to skip those chords at the very beginning, and I'm going to loop it a couple of times so that you can try playing along with me. If you've got that phrase down, then all you really have to do to learn the rest of the main theme is just learn the variations and then memorize where they come up. So here's the first variation. The second one is a little bit trickier. So you start with an up thumb and 2 pops in 16th note triplets. And then you strum the next couple of notes. So. And then you do this little like. And then lastly, you have this one, which isn't too tough. Those variations are fairly interchangeable, and you'll notice that Victor doesn't play it exactly the same way every single time, but here's how it is on the main studio recording. The next part is a little more simple compared to the craziness that we've had earlier. It's just some kind of fairly basic chordal strumming that goes like this. Once that part's done, we go back into the main theme, and then the chordal part comes back, but this time it's extended. After the chords, you've got the Harmonics section. And then there's the main theme again, and then finally the part where it gets really crazy. But trust me, it's not quite as hard as it sounds. I'm talking about this part. The interesting thing about this section is that every single note you hear that actually has a pitch, rather than being a percussive muted note, is actually being tapped in the left hand like this. Everything else you hear is just right hand muted slaps that mostly come in between the left hand pitched notes. I think I played this section just ever so slightly differently in terms of the articulation from Victor, but it ends up sounding pretty much exactly the same. So I tap the G with my left hand and then do a muted slap and pop on the A and G string. Then I tap on fret 5 on D and 2 muted strums on the G string. Then left hand tap fret 3 on the D string and then do a slap and double pop on A and G like this. All of that together sounds like this. The next bar is almost the same, but we end with a strum on fret 5 on D like this. So let's loop those 2 bars now and see if you can play along with me. The second half of this section is where things really start to get crazy. The good news is that the left hand is doing exactly the same thing, but the right hand is where things start to get really tricky. For this next part, you're going to need to know 2 new tricks. The first new trick is a 16th note triplet that you play by doing a slap on the A string and then 2 pops on the G string like this. The second trick is the same thing, but now you need to add 2 16th note strums at the end of it like this. Then you play exactly what you were playing before, but you add those tricks in like this. Alright, we've covered a lot, so now I'm going to play everything that we've learned so far. There's one section that comes right after all of that, which I'm going to cover in another video. If you feel like you've learned a lot today and you want to master this song as quickly as possible, I've made 2 practice videos where you can play these songs along with me and with a backing track and tabs, starting really slow and then gradually building up the tempo. This is the best way to improve as fast as possible, and you can get access to those practice videos for free if you go over to the Basecamp Patreon. You'll also find an easier version of Can't Hold No Groove, practice videos for classical thump, and tons of practice videos and tutorials for slap technique ranging from beginner to advanced. Thanks so much for watching this. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next lesson.